You've been there through everything that I've had to learn and endure in not only my baseball career, but even off the field. But I can't thank you guys enough for the support. I know, that everything that I get to do out on that baseball field is everything that I have. And, I think you guys acknowledge that. Being able to play in front of the numerous sellouts during that time was, anything and everything that anybody could ever ask for in being an athlete. Knowing that there's support, for what we get to do and the joy that we get to provide and to be able to bring a world championship here was, that much more special because of what I think we all got to see in that parade. I know a lot of us were not from Philly. We come here and, our dreams are to win a championship, to win a ring, and not really understand the purpose behind it. But I think we really grasped that, when we got to take that parade, down Broad Street and see what it really meant to the fans here. I can't thank you for that. It's been, one of the most joyous experiences that not only myself but my family's been able to be a part of. We've raising my family here, it's been special, and we'll continue to do so. Being able to start a foundation here, and to continue to operate it still to this day, and we will continue to operate it here in the future. And your support that you guys have given us, it's monumental in trying to create the dreams and the aspirations that I not only have for myself, but I try to instill in my kids. I can't thank the organization enough. It's being able to be a part of something with David and Lynn Montgomery, and what the Bucks and the Middletons have been able to do. The support that I've had from, Greg and Bonnie and, Frank and the clubhouse, and everybody else, the trainers. It's allowed me to be able to do what I do best. And, I'm going to continue to do that from here on out. I know not everybody can do it as long as Jamie Moyer, but I think we all dream and are going to try. At least I know I will. But, there's always numerous opportunities in the future. But, especially you guys, for being there with me and hanging on every word that I say, even if it's something that's not good or it's something that actually, for some odd reason, came out really well. You guys have done, a tremendous job. I know allow you to, I guess, answer or ask some questions, but I know you guys can probably answer some of them for me because you guys know me so well. But I've just tried to be myself, and sometimes it's not always the best, but that's all I know how to do. As long as I can be honest and up front with you guys, and I'll pay for the consequences if it's not good. But I think that's just me being a human being. I'll listen to whatever you guys got now.
Ryan, we'll start with you.
Two-part question. The first is just, you seem pretty relaxed. How much of a weight is this off your shoulders after you've dealt with really for 10 months or so?
Well, it's a long process. I think sometimes you don't necessarily want it to be. I've always wanted to be here and fight. I think that's kind of what the motto's always been, is the fight and Phils, and I've believed in that and tried to live that. So you don't ever want to count us out, and I didn't want to ever be counted out. But I understand that this is the nature, and this does happen. And I think you just have to accept it, and I think it's taught me how to kind of can't even say that word, but you have to pick and choose how to operate. If I've got a game that I've got to be able to pitch well, and then off the field I've got to be able to deal with what's going on on somebody else's end. But I think all I can really do is try to go out there and enjoy the game of baseball, and try to provide something for my teammates and the fans to watch.
The other thing was I think that you had wanted to go pitch for a contender, and the team you're going to doesn't have a winning record. What are your thoughts of where you're going, and how do you feel about that?
I'm excited to start the next chapter in my baseball life. It's something where they have a lot of great players. I've followed a lot of those players. I've played against a lot of them. Knowing that there's always a chance, especially in that league. You can put on a good role, and knowing that I can be a part of that. I don't think they're too far away, especially this year. And I'm excited for next year. I know a couple guys are going to be coming on off the disabled list, so to be part of something that's going to be special there, and live up to what I know and I expect. I'm excited to see where it'll go.
Kev. Cole, Ruben had said about talking to you in Toronto this week about the possibilities of what was developing. What has this timeline been for you since that conversation, and how anxious has it been really since the word of the trade leaked out on Wednesday night?
I guess I have a very expensive phone bill now. I didn't really, I don't think I got the international plan. So, it's just long. You're just trying to, they have a job to do. I'm not in those negotiations, nor should I be. And it's just me just kind of sitting back and just waiting till that decisive moment, and then being available if something needs be from my end. That's all I can really do. They're the ones that had the difficult part. They have a lot of people they had to talk to, compare to, analyze. I just had to sit back and just kind of work out and prepare for my next start, and that's kind of what I was doing. And when they would let me know, I just try to give them the best information I can.
You mentioned a decisive moment. Did they come to you and say, we have a deal with Houston, would you go there? Because it's pretty much out there that you said no to Houston.
I think it's difficult. You don't ever want to say no to anybody. And I know there's going to be a point in all baseball players' lives where we're going to fight for that last job, that last year, and you don't want to, let a organization down or a city down, because you never want to cross them off your list. But I think, my wife and I, we really sat down for a month, and we really pulled, the 9 teams that we had on our trade list. We asked every question. We had criteria that was, pages full of what were the best options for not only my baseball career, but for my family. And you just want to make sure that you're making the best decision. It's not like when you get drafted at 18 or 21, you have to just go where you go and you make the best of it. It's more like a free agent contract. I have 4 years left. So that was kind of what was the deciding, the details that were involved were, just keeping our options open. And this happened, and this was on our list, and this was an area that fit our criteria, and we're very excited to be able to start that chapter.
Jake.
Well, has it set in that the last pitch you throw in a Phillies uniform was to finish a no-hitter, and knowing how the week has transpired since then, just what does that mean to you, just looking back on it?
I guess I got lucky on a hanging curveball, so that's it's something special. It really is. I, never envisioned, that kind of transpiring the way that it did. I think, you always start your games off trying to throw a no-hitter. It's just never really happened until now. And being able to do that in the Phillies uniform will mean an immense amount of joy, and, the memories there will be, they're going to last forever. And we will always have this jersey, in my house that I'll be able to see and keep that memory. Hopefully, I'm sure, a lot of people were obviously watching that game. So, it is special for me, and I hope it's special for my teammates, because I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. I would not have been able to do that without Carlos Ruiz and, what he's been able to do for my pitching career, how we've been able to work so well. The guys, having Howie out there, he's been out there forever behind me. Even having Chase in the dugout, those are guys that I've played with since I was, from the very beginning. And, to then have these young guys that are very talented and are definitely going to make a name for themselves. They're going to create their own identity, and for them to be a part of it. I think you're going to have to ask them what that means to them, but it really means a lot to me, and I can't thank those guys enough. That's, being able to play with baseball players and teammates, and we're always going to have that special bond, no matter what we do in life and where we go. We're always going to have that moment.
You're listening to Cole Hamels address the media since being dealt to Texas right here exclusively on 97.3 ESPN and courtesy of Comcast Sportsnet.
At all yesterday, or how did you kind of pass the time?
No, I think I had to go get an MRI, so just make sure that everything was good. I wanted to, but, I understand, what was going on, and I don't want to distract from what, had to transpire with I guess now ex-teammates, what they still have to do, and the job that they have to do and how they prepare. I don't want to have to, do something, sorry. But it's you're just kind of waiting and just trying to make your plans, knowing that it's 99% going to happen, and you just kind of go from there.
Mike?
Cole, you spoke about what you learned over the course of your career here on the field and off. I'm wondering if you could speak to what you learned from maybe 2 months after the 08 World Series through the end of the 09 World Series. That seemed an instructive period, let's put it that way. What did you learn about yourself and what you needed to do moving forward in your career based on what you did during that time period?
A level on how to really train properly in the off season, how to create a schedule. Being able to accept, I guess, defeat in a more natural way. It's humbling. You're playing against big leaguers, and you can't just expect to go out there and shut them out every day, time and time again, and fool them on the same pitch over and over and over. You have to evolve. And, I was a 2-pitch pitcher. Really couldn't throw my curveball for strikes. And, I had to make sure that I learned another pitch, and I made the other pitches I had that much better. And then understand that, in order to win a ball game, it's okay to win 5-4, 6-3. Giving up runs it's natural sometimes. It's great to be able to throw nine innings and shut out a team, but you can't get frustrated with that. And I think that's kind of what I would do. Knowing that baseball's a humbling experience. You're not always going to be able to dominate and achieve your goals every time you set out. You have to change things and just go with the flow a little bit more.
Pat?
Cole, you basically grew up here in front of a fan base that is notoriously tough on their players and superstars in general. What would you say to the fan base, and what would you say about them having been here as long as you have?
It's worth everything. Being able to play in front of a fan base that cares and that appreciates what you do. That's knowing that they would love to be in the opportunity and in the shoes or in the position that I'm in. Gives you a better way to fight even harder and to show them, what I can do and why I want to do it. And to be able to hear the cheers and you understand the boos. It just shows that, I guess I'm having more of a human experience than I'd like. My expectations, I wasn't able to meet them either. And I've got something to work on for the next 4 days before I go out there again. That's something where when they show up and they show, the appreciation and the way that they care about a sport, makes you respect them and makes you respect the sport that much more. It just gives you that sort of fighting aspiration to go out there and even train harder, work even more in the off season, so that you can get to that common goal, which, for them is to win a world championship just as much as it is for the players and the organization.
Leslie?
Cole, when you re-signed here, obviously you did so thinking that there was a really good chance they were going to win and the winning was going to continue. At a certain point, the organization talked about rebuilding, and then your name started coming up in trade rumors. At what point did you become accepting of the idea of being traded, and did you ever even approach them asking if there would be a trade possibility for you?
When I first signed him, we still had Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee, and those are two of the most impressive pitchers that I've been able to pitch with. Every time we went out, we tried to one-up each other, and it was exciting because it was a friendly competition, and it helped us and helped the team, be able to go into a series and sweep a team. Injuries are obviously the downfall of all of us at a given time, and I think that's what we play against. Is when you can get to the top, most of the time what's going to bring you down is the injury part. And it's something that's unfortunate, and I think we've seen it. I've never approached the organization at all. I think being able to be here and be a part of something special and know that they're always going to try. They have to. This is what the fan base always expects, and it's great to know that, because it's fun to be able to see what an organization can actually go out and do, and how they're going to get to that next level. So it's something where it was a no-brainer to sign back here. This was the best memories I've ever had, and continued to have after that. But obviously good things do end at times, and you have to move on. But if you're able to play long enough, there's always a second chance.
Sean,
if you were to take a moment and reflect, what does it mean to you that in over 130 years of Phillies baseball, only you and Mike Schmidt have been the MVP of the World Series as a Philly?
You almost wish Mike was sitting next to me, I guess, huh? We answer it together. It means a lot. It really does. It's something that is special, but at the same time, it took 25 guys to put me into that situation. I was just able to shine at the right moment, but it never would have happened if it wasn't for those 25 guys. And I know that, I get to have a accolade that describes who I am, but it really was the team and Charlie and the coaching staff. It was all of us to be able to get there. And I know that just being able to celebrate that and know that my name's going to be up next to Mike's and our name's going to be up there. I don't know if we can take full credit, and I know he'll probably answer the same way. It's special, but it means everything to all of us, and I know that in that given time, people don't always get to celebrate that in that way.
We'll take a couple more. Jimmy?
Do you have family in the Dallas area? Like, is there a personal connection that...
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
I have family and friends there, yes.
So that made it like a fit?
It did. It's
when you turned in your list?
Yeah, no, I've got quite a few friends that have moved there from San Diego. A good old roommate from minor leagues is there. Brother and sister-in-law, and I think it's a pretty good airport to fly in and out of to the West Coast, so makes it easier.
And I'm wondering, speaking of airport, what was the flight home from Toronto like, knowing that was your last one with these guys?
Yeah, I think it was funny because I think my teammates wanted Diekman and I to go sit in the front and double up, but since we weren't part of the team anymore. That it just shows. It shows, how fun this team is, and they have some great guys on that team, and it's good that they're still staying loose. But it's different because I think even Diekman, he's going through it a little bit, probably more than I can, because he doesn't have as much time, and he knows this organization as much as I do. It's the only organization we know, and we're gonna have to go to a new one and make a difference and. I think it always helps being able to have a teammate with you. Having him and for us to be able to go together, I think it's a great experience for both of us.
Now, you had the MRI tomorrow. Will you be able to pitch tomorrow for the Rangers?
You mean yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yes.
You will pitch?
Yes. You didn't see me throwing out there?
Did you throw a bullpen today?
Yeah. No, they were still catching me. I'm just kidding. I'll be good.
We'll do Nick, then Todd, and wrap it up.
Spoken to anyone in Texas about what your role is going to be moving forward for the rest of the year? And if not, what do you expect your role to be, especially with Darvish coming back next year?
I haven't spoken to anybody about my role. I know that'll probably be addressed tonight. But there's still a chance, and I like knowing that. Being a part of what this Phillies team did in 2006 and 7, we overcame 7 to 8 games, and I know I can help be a part of that for the Rangers, and that's what I look to do. I'm not going to go in and solve every problem. I just want to be a part of it and, do what I can. And my expectations are to go out there and win ball games for them. And, if that can create a winning streak and, start to, win some decisive games, then that's what I want to be a part of. And that's as much as, all the work they've put in this whole year that I haven't been a part of. I'm not going to come in and try to solve everything. I'm just going to, be what I can out on the field and, enjoy the moment too.
Todd?
I was just going to ask you, you said on Saturday it was a surreal sort of day in Chicago. Is it going to be surreal at all on tomorrow
It will. It's kind of, you go to a new team, it's almost kind of like you moved up somewhere. Anytime you're moving up in the minor leagues, you were onto a new team, new excitement, new people. So I guess that's kind of how you have to look at it, and that's the only other experience that I can describe. It's kind of like an opening day, just on a different team. But, it is. It's, I'll be happy enough that my family will be able to be there and be a part of it. Because it's a big journey for all of us. And then, when I step in between those lines, it's game on, like I've done in the past, and like I'll continue to do every fifth day that I possibly can.
All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.